is here by now. So on behalf of the Northwest Side Community Association, I'd really like to thank you for coming out on this Friday, the Friday before a long weekend. Anyway, why would you ever want to leave a place like this and go somewhere else?
I know, this is
And obviously, thank you to Wayne, Moira, Marjorie, and John for coming to spend this time with us so that hopefully we can have a better idea of what their goals are. Here's myself, I guess I'm Wayne Nixon, I'm president of the Northwest Side, I keep wanting to say Northwest, but Northwest Side Communities Association. So with that said, yes, we'll start with our candidates. Closest to me, I guess. You can go up first. And then if you would, John, and then Myra. Wait, you got Kevin. Oh! I didn't say. All the questions, either the written or submitted from the audience, in an effort to try to keep this to our timeline, they will be given 90 seconds to respond to your questions. Okay?
Good evening, and thank you for coming out tonight, Friday night before the long weekend. It's impressive to see everybody out. My name is Marjorie Brims, and I'm running for school trustee. I was born in Scotland, as you can probably hear from my accent, and I'll try and keep it down. But I have lived in the Okanagan for 40 years now. We raised 4 children here, and my children were also at the end of the school bus route, so I can sympathise with many parents here. We now have 4 grandchildren, and have retired to Peachland in 2014. My formal education is I was a physio in Penticton Regional Hospital for about 15 years, and that's sort of where I learned how you get a big system to help an individual patient and a family. And I have a Master of Health Studies from the University of Athabasca. In my role with Interior Health, I became a manager of occupational health and safety with Interior Health for 15 or 20 years. That's where I learned about big organizations, leadership, financial accountability, education, and how you make real change. My volunteer experience, I've been on PACs and schools that my kids were on, dry grad committees, a couple of corporate committees in Peachland, and I have also been a director of Camelot, the Girl Guide campus down the road at West Side Road here for about 20 years. In this campaign, perhaps because I'm running against an incumbent who is the current chair of the school board, I've been approached by many parents, and particularly over one issue, and they all have the same complaint and the same concerns. And I feel like regardless of the issue, this is at the heart of why I'm running. I believe we need much more clear communication, plain language, which neither bamboozles the audience nor it has a condescending tone. Particularly with contentious issues, I would expect a school board to anticipate the need for many opportunities for people to have respectful debate and discussion, and I think from what I hear from parents, they feel that that is not provided. I recognize perception and reality are not always the same for everyone, but that is very much the perception. And in this society these days, young parents and people in general are not willing to sit back and be told. People want a modern, inclusive style of management from their large organizations like school boards and hospitals. There's a few other issues that have come up. I support programs for all students, regardless of their differences, so that they can gain the skills they need, lead healthy lives, be contributing to society. I think school boards need to forge stronger relationships with the communities. And you'll find I'm short on detail, but long on enthusiasm. Thank you.
Thank you.
good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. And here's another accent from an immigrant. I was born in Northern Ireland, so I guess we'll end up doing things like this. I grew up in England, and I've been in Canada now since 1969. I did have a speech here about what it means to be a school trustee, and I've been a school trustee for a long time, but I feel I must respond to this feeling that my opponent here has, that there's no communication. When people come to our district, they actually say they haven't been to a board that communicates more. At our board meetings, we have 2 question and comment periods during the meetings. We don't wait to the end. We want to hear from people during our meetings. We have parents on every single standing committee. I personally attend PAC meetings and the District Parent Advisory Council meetings. When the West Side Skinny was the newspaper, I think, remember? I put an article in that every month, and my telephone number and email address is always there. And now with the Post, I do that too, every month. And I think certainly there has been a lot of reaching out to parents who we know are busy, and community members are busy too. But I think we've actually gone out of our way to communicate what we're doing. Now, do we always do it properly? No, we failed this year on the West Side reconfiguration. It was rushed. It wasn't something that we had planned to do at that time. And I was very vocal about not rushing into this. I was one of 2 trustees out of 7 who voted against implementing it this past September. But it's a democracy. Once a decision is made, I can't do anything to undermine that decision. I can still be opposed to it, but I have to do everything I can as a trustee to make sure that it goes smoothly, and I've been doing that for the past few months. So that is something that is disappointing that we did rush into that, and we actually admitted that we had not consulted properly on that. But I think
catchment prep?
Yes,
Thank you.
I wouldn't call it that, but it is about the catchments. Yeah, and we should not, I believe, have done it. I think we, once again, it's very easy not to look at the big picture, to do something on the sort of short term, for short-term gain, and it ends up with long-term pain. Closing George Brigg was a secondary school. I was one of 2 trustees who voted to keep it open. Now we are looking for a site on the west side for a second secondary school. We have put it on top of our list, $85 million. We had 2 secondary schools. The staff recommended close one, consolidate them. We put 16 portables on Mount Boucherie. We might have 15 more portables in 5 years. So, I think I've laid that on the line. So, there you go.
Yes, that were written.
4 for directors, 1 for the trustees.
Oh, lovely. Well, you know what? Let's do the trustee one first. Again, this one is addressed to the trustees, so you'll each get your 90 seconds to respond to this. Do you support the change in grade configuration to the middle school system for School District 23? Oh, we'll start.
Well, when we talk about the grade reconfiguration, moving to middle schools started happening in our school district 20 years ago. At that time, we investigated the best configuration, and it was decided to have 6 to 8 the grades in the middle school was the best for students, for their learning, for their development. At that time, we realized that we could not actually accommodate grades 6 to 8 in any middle schools because we didn't have the room. So we said, okay, this is going to be our plan in the end, and up until we have the space and the ability to have the students in those schools, we would go with a different grade configuration. And 20 years ago, we had lots of different grade configurations throughout the school district. We have a long-term facility plan, and we said we would not move the grade 6s into middle school until we could do it properly in the areas of the school district. Rutland, we could do it because the secondary school there could take the grade 9s. On the west side, as I said, I was very concerned because we have not gone to a true grade configuration reconfiguration on the west side. We have Constable Neil Bruce students, they leave grade 9 and go to Mount Boucherie, but we have the Glen Rosa Middle School students staying for another year. So we've already got on the west side, we've had lots of parents want to actually get their kids into this one school or another. So I support the actual concept, but not the way we've gone about it on the west side.
It's kind of obvious. I think I'm in the same position as John. I'm not really opposing much that Lorna is saying here. I am a big fan of the grading configuration. I really think that a well-functioning grade 6, 7, and 8 school makes a beautiful kindergarten to grade 5 school and gives kids in grade 9 to 12 a really good experience. I think it's a great way to divide up our schools rather than K to 7 and 8 to 12. Absolutely, it's the way it has worked out on the west side is certainly not ideal with some kids going on to middle school and in other schools, children not going on. So when they now go to grade 10, it's going to be a bit of a mess because half of them will have already been in that school and I think the rest won't be. Is that correct? Yeah. So that is really unfortunate, and it's easy to. I know it's easy to be not the person in the hot seat, but 20 years is a long time to be trying to move to this configuration. If we have not been able to do it, one does have to wonder why it has taken that long. I know government funding is not always readily available, but it is a very good system, I think, for schools. And it's unfortunate that the school board has not been able to make that happen at this point.
Now, this has been heavily weighted to the directors. Is there any questions for our esteemed trustees? Please, somebody.
Wait, it's gone.
Let's have it.
Okay, what I'm interested in is whether or not, Moira, you mentioned that there was a parents advisory committee that you receive, input from students' parents, I take it? Is
Well,
that
there's
correct?
one at every school. There's a parent advisory council at every school.
But there isn't one overall one that
Yeah, there's a district parent advisory council.
Okay, what my question is there a parent or a representative of the children that are in school district 22 on your advisory planning commission? And if not, why not? And can we get one?
Nice.
Sorry, Moira.
Well, I know my district, school district 22 has come up because of course we know how close you are to Vernon, and we know that a lot of the parents here work in Vernon and they would rather be having their children educated in Vernon. I totally understand that. And Vernon, because you are allowed to send your child to any school in the province, it's actually going to take you longer than 1.5 minutes. You can go across boundary, and Vernon sends a bus here to pick up students to take their students to Vernon, and that's where they are educated. We have known that for a long time. I've been talking to parents here lately and guiding them on how there's some parents who live here who want this area where they live to actually become part of the regional district to the north. So they've been, because you see school district 23 covers Central Okanagan Regional District, they are actually taking their students into the, what's the one to the north? North Okanagan?
Yes, North Okanagan
Regional District. And so they want actually some of this area to go into there, and then it would be school district 22. At the moment, they're taking the children to school district 22, but their actual school district in the Central Okanagan is our school district.
Which is what?
23. So I understand why they want to do that. There's no rules against not doing it. I think because we've got so few questions, I have
Take a little while.
Because what happens is that we have, each regional district has their school districts that are in that regional district. We have 4 municipalities, regional district, and West Bank First Nation in our school district. And what happens is that the guidelines are put by the government. We can't just suddenly say we're going to say you're in another school district. So there are ways to do this. It's very complicated. You have to go to the government and say we want the boundaries changed for the regional district. I don't know how easy or difficult that is. Usually it works quite well, but I've been talking to the superintendent in 22, and there were 4 students last time I talked to him who were actually had to go on the wait list at Alexis Park Elementary because the school was full. So they are actually having to go to one of our schools. If there was room, they could go. What's triggered some of the problem is the bus fees, because you're considered out of catchment area.
Laura,
Yes.
I came here in 1971. My parents never paid a nickel for me to go to school or any of my brothers or sisters in Vernon forever. Now, I have children here, and now they want $300 a year for us to go there. That's wrong.
I know that, and our school district actually, Vernon has made the decision to challenge the students that they call courtesy riders. Because you're out of district, you're considered a courtesy rider. So they sent you all a letter, which is what triggered our latest conversation.
1971.
Yeah, I know. And the fact is the government does not provide actual busing fees to school districts. Our school district charges $200 for every single student who rides a bus, whether they're a courtesy rider or they're beyond the walk limits. And we've, first 2 times we did this, I voted against it, but I found out that there were 2 things that happened. And there is a hardship policy, and there's a way to get it cheaper. If you've got more than 1 child, the prices go down. But the whole point is that we found that when we put the fee on, whether parents paid or not, and some actually end up not paying it, people took it more seriously. They weren't just getting a seat on the bus and then only putting their kids on in the winter time. They were actually using it. Because if it's free, I'm going to be really honest here, a lot of people weren't using it. The buses were driving half empty and people wanted to get on and couldn't. So we've come up with a policy in our school district, $200 for every child. It's not a perfect world, but the Ministry of Education has now said school districts do not have to provide any busing at all. And some school districts can't. We still are. So.
Thank you. Thanks. Do you want to address all those questions? Pick and choose.
I'm going to just say, not as the incumbent right now, it's the easy card to play, I guess, but the school district does appear to rely on parent advisory committees. I certainly was part of that for their input. They talk about we received input. But if you look at the district, the parent advisory committee minutes on any of the schools in the Central Okanagan, some of them, there's no minutes since 2015, 2016. Many of them have 10 people attending the meetings. I really think if, as a school board, we're going to rely on parent advisory committees to be our sounding board, the place where we expect information to be sent out through to our parents, we also probably have to do something a lot more to encourage parents to participate. Not easy, I understand that, but if that is going to be the route that we go, then we have to have many more people truly participating in our parent advisory committees and not just a small handful that are always the same people that get picked. So, as I say, easy to say, and I recognize difficult to do, but it's an important point to make.
I'm going to object. I'm objecting because while we're listening to our learned people who are running for the regional district position, they were allowed to, Wayne was allowed to get up and respond.
You had 2 questions asked, and you answered them both. She had 1.
Well, all right, I just think that
Thank you.
This doesn't seem to be quite fair.
Thank you.
We can't get up and keep having.
We're trying to plan a schedule here. So, with that said, Now we're getting down to the closing remarks. So, my dear, you can start first. You have 3 minutes.
Right, well, I'd love to talk to all of you afterwards and answer some of these questions, and I hope you look at my brochure. So what can I tell you about the position of school trustee? It's often very challenging, it's extremely time consuming, it can cause sleepless nights, it forces one to consider all points of view, it means one doesn't always get one's own way, it requires a lot of time spent driving around the school district, and it needs a knowledge and understanding of legislation regarding public education and of parents' rights and responsibilities. All in all, it's a very complicated role. However, I find it very rewarding. That is because everything a school trustee does, however small it may seem, is related to the education and the well-being of the children entrusted to the public education system. Because of the years I've spent supporting public education, first as a parent advocate and volunteer, and now as a school trustee, I have a keen understanding of how the system works, and I'm able to help parents to access programs and bring their concerns forward. This may be a parent with a special needs student, or a student who is being bullied, or a parent who wants to transfer their child to another school. As well as helping individual parents behind the scenes, I also bring forward more general concerns at public board meetings. And of course, I don't only deal with parents, students and issues in Zone 2, but throughout the entire Central Okanagan School District. Because as a trustee, I vote on all matters at the board table and have a responsibility to fully understand the issue before casting my vote. And that is why the job can be sometimes very frustrating. It's not easy being on a board where sometimes questions to senior staff are seen as criticism. And there is often an attitude from some trustees of, well, staff are the experts, so we should approve their recommendations. My answer to that is then, why do we have publicly elected boards of education? My approach is that it is better to put off making a decision in order to seek more information and get more input from our communities than to make a hasty decision and live to regret it. On the whole, I do feel very proud of our schools here in North Central Okanagan, which despite cutbacks and other challenges, continue to strive to provide the best possible education for all our students. And when students of all ages attend a board meeting to explain a project they have initiated or to be recognized for an accomplishment, that's when I particularly love being a school trustee. Thank you for your time.
You may wonder why I'm running against a very long-standing incumbent. Simply put, this is work I would like to do, and this is the route I have to go to get there. Many people have wished me well when I announced that I was going to be running for trustee, and many people said it's time for a change. I would leave, of course, that decision up to you. That's not for me to say. But I feel strongly that in order to remain relevant, school boards must refocus away from administration towards leadership, out of the boardroom and back into our communities. I'm well aware that I lack experience, but I can offer you that I will work very hard to learn. This will be a huge learning curve for me, there's no doubt about it. But I'd like to bring a fresh perspective to the school board. I offer my commitment to learn, to listen, and to study new ways to try and find issues, to bring innovative ways for issues, and a new way of doing business. I take a big picture approach, I'm thoughtful and I'm open-minded, I'm a good researcher and I'm thoughtful in my decision making, and I rely on high quality evidence to guide decisions. I really believe the saying, do not confine your children to your own learning, for they were born in a different time. I think that really speaks to what we are facing today. The times they are changing, as Bob Dylan said, and our approach to education must keep up with the pace in knowledge and the change in our society. We all have to start somewhere, and on October 20th I would like to start serving you as a school trustee for this area, and I'm excited to be part of the opportunity to do that. Thanks very much.
Wayne.
All right, buckle up. This is going to have to be fast here. So departments, just so that you know, there is only 2 positions for an area to be. We're either an electoral area or we're an incorporated municipality. There is nothing else in between. Okay, that's why we're looking for costing on it, because the only place you can go from here is incorporation. The water, we're far more expensive than our neighbors. Most of the people out here on the regional district water systems are $1,200 to $1,600 a year. I'm finding they're about $800 in town. So that's not right. In 2015, we had a town hall meeting, and a question was asked, I think it was by the ratepayers, as how we could run our own water systems. And the CAO got up at that time and told us that if we wanted to run our own water systems, we could go and incorporate, because that's the only way it was going to happen. So that's the way it goes. But with the water systems, quickly, there's a need for financial accountability for the operational and capital spending on all of the RDCO water systems, and currently that is being denied us by the board. I'm hoping a new board will look at that differently. We need to explore what's called a point of entry filtration system. This is where the filtration is on your house. You're looking at about $2,000 a house to do it that way, and they're looking at $3.5 million for Killiney Beach and another $3.5 million for West Shores, which is going to come up considerably more than that, and there'll be a $100,000 a year job that goes along with that. Okay, we need an independent legal opinion on our stakeholders' voting privilege that was taken away from us in 2015, so that we determine it is not one water system by one director. There's 6 water systems operated by the regional district, and that's 2 directors to serve those. The vote should be back the way it was for the previous 50 years, back with the people that pay for it. Both directors, electoral area directors, we voted against 3 out of the last 4 budgets, and water is the main reason we've done that. It hasn't even made the highlights. So taxes, your taxes have gone down 4 out of the last 5 years. We had a blip there in 2015, 2016, where all of a sudden they went way down and then they went back up the next year. That's the fringe area agreements. Again, these are agreements that were drawn up by the municipalities with no legal opinion on behalf of the electoral area residents, you. They made these agreements, the best agreements they could make for themselves, which I don't blame them, dropped them in front of us and said, sign them. We refused to sign them. The chair of the board signed them on our behalf. Planning function. The planning function here for the electoral areas is almost a $500,000 line item on the budget. Of that, Central Okanagan West is paying $183,000. A community with 2,000 people or even 6,000 you throw the other side on, we should be $20,000 to $30,000, not $500,000. So we do not have a good deal going for us. That's all the time I got. I got much more. You want to come up and talk to me? I'll tell you all about it.
That took a lot of willpower on Wayne's part. All right. We have actually come to the end of the meeting, and I'd like to thank everyone for their input. Nobody misbehaved. That's good. And I want to thank everyone.
Don't volunteer.
I'll talk to you outside, okay? Anyway, thank you very much. What we will have now is, till 9 o'clock for you to talk to these lovely folks and get any clarity on whatever didn't get answered by the questions that were asked. So again, thank you very much. Good evening and happy Thanksgiving.